This weekend on the original Rochester Press Box.
I'm Bob Chavez, sports editor at messengerpostmedia.com in Canandaigua, and I'll tell you about the moral dilemma facing the Buffalo Sabres and their fans.
And I'm John DiTullio. Something happened in the NFL this week. I'll tell you why Congress had to get involved.
I'm Dan Fetes from the Vision High School Sports Beat. Kevin Love and LeBron James should have taken advice from my favorite movie of all time.
And I'm Bill Pucko. How to fix college basketball. Lose those timeouts. Join us on the original Rochester Press Box. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the original Rochester Press Box. I'm Bill Pucko with you, and joined by John DiTullio. Welcome back, old buddy.
Bill, it's great to be back. I'm just, off a couple of weeks. I was getting emotional. The last 2 weeks I haven't been here, but
Fox
it's great
Sports
to be with
1280
you.
Sports Director.
You got it right.
From 13 Wham TV, I've been practicing. 13 Wham TV on the High School Sports Beat. Dan Fetes back with us. Good to see you again, Danny.
Thanks for having me.
Alrighty, and new guest, the sports editor of the Messenger Post newspaper chain, Bob Chavez. Newly minted. How's it going down there?
It's going well, thank you.
Alrighty. Hey, look, this is obviously, March Madness, college basketball, and right. Everybody is banging on the game, Bob. College basketball, it's too slow, it's this, it's that, it's boring, it's no good. How do we fix it?
That's a good question, because I agree with you completely. There's really such a lack of flow to the game. It's just interruption after interruption. And, I don't know exactly how you fix it, but something definitely needs to be done. Cause
in some measures, the games we see in Division III, that's not a problem. Those games are still compelling. I don't know how you lose it at the
Well, you don't have 18 timeouts in Division III. If you add up all the TV timeouts and you add up all the timeouts teams get, combined, there's 18 timeouts. There is no flow at all to college. And I love college basketball, but the last 5 minutes or so, it's ridiculous. We've talked to college coaches. They say there's no flow because of the TV timeouts every 4 minutes. Why they can't eliminate one, go every 5, have just 3 per half. I think there's ways, but they're at the mercy of CBS. They're at the mercy of television right now. And that's a big problem in college basketball. You can rip AAU, which I will. You can rip the one and done, which I will. I think that's all the factors on why the game is tough to watch.
Not a shot at the NCAA. It was right there for you.
It's too easy. It is so easy to rip the NCAA. And they're part of the problem as well. Starting some of these games at 11:15 at night on the East Coast. I mean, they're a joke, too. Their only job is to put on the NCAA tournament, and they can't even do that right.
A lot of hands in the pot. There's the advertisers, there's the sponsors, there's the NCAA, there's even the NBA, there's the agents. Everything's involved. It's getting as far away from the actual basketball than anything else. It's the coaches.
But it hasn't been this way long. Like what changed?
Well, that's the thing. Why do you have so many timeouts, like you were saying earlier? It's not even like they're taking a timeout to go to a commercial break, because after a while they're staying with the teams, focusing on the benches and stuff like that. So it's not like they're trying to plug in more money for commercials. So why are there so many timeouts?
Listen, nobody can hit a mid-range jumper. Not many players play with their back to the basket, and they don't play defense. You watch the NBA, which I do. The NBA at the defense at the NBA level, to me, is twice, if not 3 times better than what you see in the college game, I believe. But Kentucky's the exception. Right. They play at 94 feet. Or West Virginia. There's a few schools out there that play great defense. We'll see one, West Virginia, Kentucky. Both teams will get after you.
We're also rooting against this Kentucky team. I think we fail sometimes to sit back and appreciate what's going on there.
Yeah, why are we hating on them? I mean, what's wrong
Calipari.
with but why?
That's it.
But it's one and done. It's the beauty. They're a great team. Let's enjoy them while we have them, because they're going to be gone in a year, and we may not see another team like this.
People forget a few years ago they lost to Robert Morris in the first round of the NIT, and we didn't care. Right. The only reason we hate Kentucky, I believe, is because of John Calipari. I don't believe there was much angst when Tubby Smith, they weren't winning as much, but when Tubby Smith was there, or Joe B. Hall, or Eddie Sutton, Rick Pitino. I don't remember hating on. I don't hate Kentucky.
Right, and it's
I
because,
got a problem with John Calipari.
Right, and because he represents everything that's wrong with college basketball. Right, it's the one and dones. It's the I'm just going to get them and they're going to go and I'll take them back next year. But what's so wrong with that? You're a good player. You deserve to be on the best team, and then you get to go on to the next level. I don't think we should be mad at Calipari as much as the NCAA, like you're so used to.
Well, the one and done, I don't have a problem with. He says everybody can do the one and done.
Right.
They just seem to do it better than everybody else.
If that's the result of the one and done, how bad can it be?
Right. I don't have a problem with it. Now, honestly, I think a kid should be able to go right from high school to the NBA. But if he commits to college, I want him to go 3 years. That would be my rule if I was in charge.
All right. We'll see to it that happens someday, John. Something revolutionary is happening with the Buffalo Bills. We'll discuss that next when the original Rochester Press Box continues. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. The Buffalo Bills-Jacksonville game that will be played in London this coming NFL season is not going to be available to the country on network television. It's going to be streamed, John. What do you think?
Well, for someone, now I'm lame. I don't know how to do anything. But I remember being at my sister-in-law's who didn't have cable or DirecTV, but we ran something through my brother-in-law's iPad to the TV. So to me, this is common. To them, it's common. For me, I'll have my wife or daughter do it. I understand they've got deals with YouTube and Facebook. I think this is ridiculous. But for the masses out there, the younger generation, no brainer. It seems to be the logical step for the NFL. The next step to go is going to streaming games.
You know, you're the representative of the younger Americans.
I'm the cranky guy.
Is this something to be afraid of or to embrace?
No, this is something to embrace. I mean, I watched most games. I can find most games of the NFL that, if I didn't have Red Zone when I was in college, we didn't have those things, you were able to find games online. You were able to find them through a website. You could stream them.
You don't have to look.
Not really. You just type it into Google. There's some site that's streaming it. I watch most Atlanta Brave games through my phone, through my tablet, through my laptop when I'm not necessarily sitting in front of a TV. That way I'm able to take my games everywhere I need to go. This is the way that they need to go. The NFL, keep with the times. This, like John said, this is nothing new to me, hearing about something being streamed, and whether it's a concert or anything.
Bobby, I wonder, because when the NFL started putting games on the NFL Network, it's almost like they were hiding them. And I don't think, in the big picture, that served them real well. Is there a downside to this at all?
I don't think so, because I agree with what these guys are saying. I think it's about time, and it's kind of weird to say that the NFL is catching up because it's been such a trendsetter over the recent years. But you look at a local team like the Nighthawks; their games have been on streaming, over the last few years for free. It's been on YouTube, and so other sports leagues have done this over the years. And it sounds kind of weird, but the NFL is actually catching up, and it's portable, and you can watch them anywhere.
Huh. You can take your iPad. I know for my show, you download an app, you can listen to anywhere in the world. We're doing it in radio, and I think the NFL is finally catching up that you can have your iPad no matter where you are. You can be out with the kids somewhere, and you can watch the Bills game. If you got to go, if your son or daughter has a game that morning, you take the iPad with you. You're watching the Bills game right there. Well, I think it's convenient.
The big fear is losing money, right? If you offer it like that, you're going to lose money stuff. But I think the NFL is realizing and seeing it's working for other leagues, and hey,
they'll find a way not to lose money. I'm wondering how far into the future are we looking before we all have to shell over for the Super Bowl?
That could be coming soon, but it's funny how you talk about the ads and the money, because most times when you're watching anything on your phone, you're playing any games on your phone, there's an advertisement that's popping up just about every 5 minutes, and you're seeing those things. And this is the progression. I don't know where it's going, but even, you keep track of stats and scores on most games. Your fantasy football, it's right there on your phone. Everything you're doing is handheld now. It's only a matter of time before, we get smaller and smaller, where it's in your car and everywhere you go.
I'll tell you, when we go to this is when we Super Bowls, when the money dries up, when Fox and CBS and NBC quit shelling out billions of dollars.
Well, that's no time soon, because we're just coming off a record.
Then I think it's going to be some time before the Super Bowl is only can watch it on YouTube or Facebook.
I heard that they were trying to make it so the Super Bowl's delayed as long as the President's Day holiday. They're trying to go to eventually they want to play it that late so they can fit into the 3-day weekend, and
everybody has been clamoring, like myself, to have the next day off, right? Everybody, it's turned into a national holiday.
Right.
Super Bowl Sunday.
If there's a buck in at the NFL Network, we'll find a way to make it work. Like it or not, when we return.
And you don't need to be Native American to realize it is offensive. And it's not politically correct. It's the right thing to do.
He was an idiot for throwing him that pitch. The guy's phenomenal. He had no reason to give him anything, especially a fastball to hit.
It's simply that these two guys, Ronaldo and Tom Brady, are too good looking.
I like it, just don't admit to it.
Everybody wants to hate on the best in the world. You know, he's here to stay, and he wants to build something big time.
The bottom line is, still nobody's going to like A-Rod.
Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Like it or not, Danny B.J. Johnson transferring out of Syracuse.
Yeah, and Ron Patterson left as well. But this is what happens when you break the rules. You have to pay the punishment, and you have to. This is what happens. You lose scholarships. Players are going to leave. You know, all these things are happening now. It's the circle, that's going around. You know, the Syracuse program's kind of in question for the first time in a long time, and obviously players are going to take the easy way out and go somewhere else and go with maybe more stability, more scholarships.
And they have to sit a year.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think it's a big loss, either one of those players. Both had struggled, and I think both were in Boeheim's doghouse. And now, because they got a great recruiting class coming in already, that I think they saw their time was going to be even more limited next year, considering the team that got back and the class he has coming in, that he's kept together. I don't think it's that big of a loss. And as you mentioned, Johnson is going to LaSalle, has to sit out a year. So I don't think it's a big loss.
He's going home. But at the same time, if it was a bigger player still, there's that whole dichotomy that the coaches seem to, on one hand, and the players can't play on the other. It's like these guys are being punished a second time for what happened at Syracuse, don't you think, Bob?
Yeah, it does seem a little bit unfair like that, but like we were saying here, you break the rules and you gotta pay the price, and it is a bit unfair. But I mean, who do you punish? I mean, someone's got to pay the price, and unfortunately, it's guys like that.
You can't just let them
Well,
go.
there's no sanctions. In the Penn State situation, there were sanctions, so they just said leave. Yeah. You can go tomorrow. And, and by the way, any coach who wants them can come onto your campus and
would that
recruit
have been
them.
the difference then if they'd have sanctioned Syracuse and said that you can't go to the tournament next year? Those kids would have been free?
Those kids have been free to go.
I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, look, the coaches make out well. Like it or not, Bobby Hurley getting presumably is going to get a big pay bump at Buffalo.
I like it. I think he's done a good job there in Buffalo. It's exciting to see them in the tournament. He's got some credibility, obviously, for what he did as a player at Duke, and he brings a big name to campus. And if he can stick around for another year, a couple more years, who knows where they're
So
going.
the next question is, how long do you think they can legitimately hang on to this guy?
That's a good question. I mean, if they keep winning, if they keep climbing up that ladder, he's going to become more and more in demand. And you got to think he doesn't want to stay in Buffalo forever. So he's building his resume, but he's doing it the right way, and he's winning, and we'll see.
What do you see his future as?
Texas, I would have piped Rick Barnes and hired Bobby Hurley this year. Absolutely, I would have done that. I think he's gone. I think any big program. I know Mike Hopkins is heir apparent. If I'm the new athletic director coming in, and I'm keeping an eye on Bobby Hurley. I don't know if Mike Hopkins is a slam dunk. I'm thinking Bobby Hurley is going to be in demand next year. Big time. I'm talking about big time jobs.
So you think he leaves Buffalo this year?
I don't know.
Because he's going to DePaul. He's going to go see DePaul on Saturday, they're saying.
I'm not going to DePaul.
I agree.
That's
Why
a
would you
dead-end
leave?
job. I'm going to Texas. If I'm the athletic director at Texas, I've gone about as far as I've gone with Rick Barnes. I'd call Bobby Hurley.
I can see Texas being Texas with a Duke guy in charge. That's something about that doesn't work.
Wow.
Johnny, like it or not, the Greece voters have turned down the idea of a lighted sports field.
I don't like it at all. I think it's embarrassing. I mean, we voted in favor of upgrading the schools and buying the land. We have 4 high schools in Greece, and all of our playing surfaces are lousy, and none of them have lights. This is all listen, high school sports plays a big part of high school and high school education. And I think it would have been a sense of pride had we had one central venue, turf, 2,600 with lights. I think it would have been fantastic for the community. For someone who pays taxes, I didn't mind it would have been minuscule in terms of the amount of money we're going to have to pay over the next 10 to 15 years. I thought we dropped the ball in Greece.
This vote wasn't close.
No.
Really.
No, it wasn't. And I see your point about the pride, though, but isn't there a little bit more pride? Like if you say there's 4 schools, and they're going to share one stadium.
One stadium, that's fine. I don't think
if I go to
anybody agrees.
Athena, if I go to Arcadia, I want to play at Arcadia. I want to play at
I know
Athena,
the coaches, and they're all in favor of it. Some of the football coaches that I talked to out in Greece, they didn't mind. They were still going to use their field, but I think for those big games, they were, under the lights. They were going to use that. They were still going to use their fields, but Olympia's field is a cow pasture if you've been there. It's
Right.
terrible. Well, it would be for lacrosse, it would be for soccer, it'd be for football, it'd be multi-purpose
Everybody's
for
got-
everyone. I think
everybody's
everyone's
got turf.
happy. It'd be
Everybody
like
has
our crown
turf.
jewel out in Greece. I think we dropped the ball.
Yeah, with some momentum there too, because Greece Athena's had a marvelous year on the athletic.
Well, the
field.
community's been operating in the red for how many years? We're finally in the black. We get things going, as you mentioned. It's been a bad PR couple of months or a past year for Greece. This would have been huge for us.
Unfinished business when we return. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box, Unfinished Business.
I'd like to applaud Congress. They've done two things right in the, how many years would we say? In the last 50, but at least in the last 10 years. Number one, they got involved with the PED issue in Major League Baseball. And lo and behold, Major League Baseball now has a very stringent drug testing policy. Then they got involved with the blackout rule, which forced the NFL owners to at least do away with it for 1 year. Trust me, you'll never see the blackout rule come back ever again. You want to know why? Because Congress threatened to take their tax exempt status away. And put it this way, ticket sales for NFL teams, minuscule when you start talking the billions of dollars that each team receives from the television money. So for the Buffalo Bills, who've had one blackout in the last 2 years, they're not going to have one this year. For other teams like the Raiders and Jacksonville, teams that struggle sometimes to fill their stadium, we all know what? It doesn't matter because now the blackout rule has been lifted. I think it's about time. This rule has been in existence since 1975. I think it's one of the dumbest rules that the NFL ever adopted, A, and B, kept in place for the last 40 years. Considering where the TV money is now, and some of these stadiums are built with taxpayers' money, and then you're going to hold them hostage to come and buy a product, a crappy product, lo and behold, in terms of preseason. I'm fired up for the preseason to watch Rex Ryan and the Bills now.
Once upon a time, it made some sense when these teams were a lot more attendance dependent, but now.
Now with the TV money reaching, almost $25 billion now, the NFL is generating a year. The ticket sales matter about this much of a pie about this big.
Because there was a long time ago that they were talking about, the idea that it's become such a TV show that they'll eventually just give the tickets away just so that you've got a full stadium for atmosphere.
Thank you.
It's like studio audience.
Good point, Billy.
Bob, what do you got?
I got the Buffalo Sabres. It's going to be a very interesting last week or two of the season. They're fighting for that quote, end quote, race to the bottom of the standings for the right to get either the very first or the very second draft pick for next year. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Sabres do because not only are they going for that spot, but they're playing against the team that's battling them for that spot, and they get to play them twice. So it's going to be interesting to see what the players do. They've got some pride. They want to win. They're trying to get a spot for the team or any other team for next season. And management, of course, won't admit it, but they would love to be able to land a marquee name coming up in the draft. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on with the Buffalo Sabres in the next week or
It's
two.
a crisis of conscience. That you grow up rooting for the Buffalo Sabres and you go to the rink and you're loudly rooting against them at this point. That's just tough.
Yeah, it is tough, and I can't imagine what a lot of those fans are going through and stuff because you want to see your team win, but at the same time, you know that if they get that top pick or even the number 2 pick for next year, they're going to have a chance to build something
It's
good.
like a win here or there. You think about this. A win here or there costs you
Yeah.
the next 20 years.
Think about that. You're talking about what Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel. I know you're looking at either getting Gretzky or Messier. When you think about it, two players that are going to be transcendent for the next how many years?
Wouldn't that be sweet? Danny, what do you got?
As a society, we always want honesty. We want honesty from our government, from our politicians, and specifically from our athletes. And when they give us a cookie-cutter response, we kind of just blow it off to the side. But this week, Kevin Love and LeBron James may have been a little too honest in the media. It started out with LeBron James' Instagram post of him and 6 teammates saying that in the title of Click Up, meaning those were like his boys. And Kevin Love wasn't in the picture. And when they asked Kevin Love why he wasn't in the picture, he simply said, LeBron and I aren't best friends. We don't hang out every day. We practice every day. And that's added media fire to the, does Kevin Love fit in? Is he going to resign? And all these things going back and forth. And then they asked Kevin Love who he thinks should be the MVP for the NBA season between Russell Westbrook and his own teammate, LeBron James. He simply said Russell Westbrook. And then all of a sudden, more media gets involved. But when you think about it, Kevin Love was college teammates with Russell Westbrook, and he also trains with him all off season. So it really was picking between, his mom and his dad. And so it brings all these points, and all I can think about is now we're talking about problems and distractions outside the locker room instead of talking about how good of a team the Cavaliers have become on the court and probably the favorite out of the East to go to the NBA Finals. So I thought of my favorite movie, Bull Durham, and in the movie when Crash Davis, the vet's talking to rookie Ebby Calvin-LaLouche about how to deal with the press when he gets called up to the big leagues. And he told him to get a pen and write down his cliches. And he talks about saying just take it one day at a time, or I'm just happy to be here, part of the team, hoping to help the guys out. And Ebby Calvin-LaLouche says, that's boring. And Crash goes, of course it is. Write it down. Sometimes it's better to just give the corporate response instead of causing more media problems.
So you wonder if he'd have had that same advice if social media had existed back in the times
right?
of the Durham Bulls.
Unbelievable.
Just quickly, we started our discussion today talking about how to fix the game of college basketball. There are 2 things I think would help. First, I would love the 24-second clock. It doesn't seem like it would make a lot of difference, but that 6 seconds you watch an NBA game, it really picks up the pace. The other, and we said it before, those timeouts. My God, these teams get 5 timeouts a half. The Notre Dame-Butler game had enough timeouts left over so that they stopped the clock 4 times in the last minute. You have to really got to stop that. For me, part of coaching has always been to try to teach your athletes how to deal with the situation as it occurs, to learn to think while you're on the court. There's a lot of things college basketball needs to do to improve the game, but that would be a great place to start. That is our program. Johnny, thank you very much.
Billy, great show today.
Danny, appreciate
Fantastic.
it. You don't have to say that.
It was a great show.
And thanks to our special guest, Bob Chavez. Good luck down there at the Messenger Post.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching the original Rochester Press Box.